Hello everyone, it's Natty. I am being quite opportunistic with this video because I can see that everyone is really interested in the MeToo hashtag. It seems to have taken off, it seems to be really popular. There's some lights behind me, I'm going to turn them off, hang on a sec. So, we've been discussing it in Women Against Feminism group, and we do not support the general message of this MeToo hashtag. There's been quite a few articles by the usual suspects in the UK. People like the BBC have fully taken it on, and The Guardian, of course, and all the other pro-feminist publications. The information I'm getting from women in our group is that whenever they have said on their own Facebook walls and in any groups that they're in that are not Women Against Feminism, that they haven't experienced endless sexual assault at the hands of men. They haven't had groping and, harassment on the streets all the time, that most men they encounter are decent, respectable men. And sometimes they have witty banter with them, and sometimes they encounter the odd guy who doesn't have very good social skills or bad game. But they all agree generally that this hashtag is another way to demonize men, another feminist agenda that is being pushed as a result of the Harvey Weinstein scandal. Trying to portray most men as sexually lecherous and perverts, and that most sexual abuse happens at the hands of men to women. So we started our own hashtag, and I hope that you can join us. It's called Not Me. So if you're a woman, ladies, and you have not experienced loads of sexual harassment like all the women on the MeToo claim, then please use the hashtag and explain why you are someone that's not me rather than me too. And then we'd also like to extend our arms to the men in our group and the men elsewhere who have been saying that they also can be included in the MeToo hashtag. So we would like you to use, well, if you want to, use the Men Too hashtag, because some of the feedback I've been getting is when a guy has said me too as well about sexual assault, then he has been shouted down by women who are saying, this isn't about you and you don't have as many bad experiences as us, it's all women, all victimised all the time. Let me just read you a couple of comments in our group to sort of prove what I'm saying. What I'm gonna do is, because I'm gonna make this public, I will just read people's first name, but not their surname, so they're not sort of contactable. We've got Leighton says, it's all over my feed. Everyone I know is using the MeToo hashtag. Sammy says, it's been posted in the hospitality group I'm in. However, many men are coming forward with their experiences in the industry, and it's refreshing to see everyone posting encouraging words to them. That's good. Of course, there is the odd screaming feminist among the thread, but it is predominantly support from our hospitality family. So that's good. I like to hear some positive feedback. Sometimes glad to hear that. Ethan, I wasn't going to participate in the Me Too thing, but then I saw how many guys on my feed dared to come forward and talk about what was done to them. Some of them for the first time. I realised that we needed this, fellas. So, yeah, Ethan's saying that you should use the Men Too hashtag, guys, if you have been sexually assaulted. Just, let everyone know that it doesn't just happen to women. Misha, I posted Men Too and I got unfriended and blocked by a feminist. Yeah, that seems to be the predominant thing that seems to happen. Sarah, I personally don't like the MeToo hashtag because I don't want people to know my personal business, but people should be allowed to talk about it no matter if they're a man or a woman, of course. Okay, so Jan is saying in the comments that she remembers the Yes All Women hashtag, and she thinks that it's okay when they started using this hashtag because it's not gendered, but now it's being gendered. I'll give you an example of how it's being gendered. I'll just bring up the article that I read from the BBC earlier. Give me 1 second. La-di-da-da. Aha, right, so BBC News. I'm going to read a little bit of this article from BBC News about the MeToo hashtag. And just an example of how this MeToo initiative is being sort of exploited for feminist propaganda reasons. My MeToo experience is sadly typical. So let me just show you it. Here she is. Rajini Vaidyanathan. I'm sorry, that's too many syllables for me, but you can see what her name is there. Okay. So let me just read what she says in this article. The social media conversation around hashtag MeToo highlights how widespread sexual harassment is. The BBC's Vagini Yada Yada shares her personal story. I must have been about 25 years old. We were in an Italian restaurant in New York. Just after we'd finished on a story, I was an ambitious producer who'd been in Manhattan for the Republican convention. Most of the team had gone on, but a colleague and I were the last two left, and we were having dinner. We'd gone to the East Village, and in a dimly lit Italian restaurant, I made small talk about George Bush and John Kerry. Then he said it. I'm unbelievably sexually attracted to you. I can't stop thinking about you. Oh my God. What did she do, ladies? What did she do? I dropped my fork and it bounced on the plate. The spaghetti was still woven around it. This was a college twice my age. Shock horror. Well respected and with a girlfriend. I had experienced sexism in the workplace before, but not in such an overt way. Oh. I can't even remember what I said, but it was something all too polite as I tried to change the conversation. He continued talking about how beautiful I was as I ate the pasta as fast as I could. I wasn't sure at the time if he said anything I could reasonably complain about, but I remember feeling disgusted and uncomfortable about it. Whew. I now know it was utterly unacceptable, and this is just another reminder of how some men in the workplace use their power to manipulate, harass, and even abuse women. Whew. Give me a second to just catch my breath. I'm just so shocked at the treatment of this woman. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. This is the point. This is the point. This is how feminists cheapen serious issues such as sexual harassment. This woman has done a anecdotal evidence in this article about an experience she had with a co-worker who came on to her in a particularly polite way, I would say. He says, I'm unbelievably sexually attracted to you. I can't stop thinking about you. I mean, he didn't reach over and just grab her boob without asking. He didn't go over, and slap her ass. He didn't walk over and whisper into her ear and say, I'm imagining having sex with you right now. Can you imagine what it would be like? Or some kind of, weird, creepy thing that, like, most people would definitely find unacceptable. He was just straight up front and straightforward about the fact that he fancied her. I mean, if this is the best the BBC can do as an example of sexual harassment, then it's just more evidence that this MeToo hashtag is a complete and utter waste of fucking time and just another way for most women to complain about a man who did something that she didn't like, something that made her feel uncomfortable and slightly disgusted because she did not find this man attractive. And, maybe she was thinking, I don't really want to have any relationships with a man in the workplace. And I can guarantee that if she found him attractive and she thought it was in her benefit, she probably would have been like, oh my God, I'm so flattered, and probably would have got away, gone with him home or dated him or something. You know, like, this is the most pathetic example I've ever seen. I'm going to think about an example of how, from my own experience, when I was a bartender, I was in an environment where everyone was having sex with everyone all the time, and I was kind of doing that as well. I had a few flings there, and the bar manager he was kind of awkward, but I think he kind of liked me because he started flirting with me sometimes, but he was really awkward about it. He wasn't very good at it. And one day he said something when we all went out after work, and it was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of like he was trying to embarrass me rather than like sort of flirt with me. And I think it was because he was frustrated because I wasn't really returning any of his advances. Anyway, when the time came for like a promotion and I put myself forward for it, he kind of dogged me, really. He gave me a trial run for like 2 weeks, and then he just hired another guy without telling me first. And obviously I was super pissed, so I went to see him and I was like, you know, if you didn't want me for the role, like, it would have been really nice if you had just told me before you hired this other guy. And he said, well, basically, if you weren't sort of having flings with people, then I would have considered you for the promotion. Now, part of me knew that this guy was also trying to get back at me because, you know, I had a fling with a couple of people and one of them wasn't him. But then also part of me knew that if I had wanted to be taken serious for a promotion, that I probably shouldn't be having flings with people anyway. So I wasn't very happy about it, and I was quite upset about it for a while. But to be honest, I got over it, and I actually had a chat with him sometime later, and I said to him, that experience, that unfortunate experience that I had with you, it really taught me a wise lesson, so I'm actually glad it happens, even though you're a prick. And then he gave me free entry to his club every time I saw him after that, because I think he felt bad. So I got a kind of win-win out of that. So if I wanted to use that as an example of a Me Too, I could. But because I don't see myself as a victim and I try to learn from my experiences, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, let's go back to this article. The recent conversation about Harvey Weinstein I can't say his name properly, Weinstein, has prompted countless conversations among my female friends about where the line stops in these situations and when you should say something. Ladies, if you feel uncomfortable and think that the guy is being a prick or has overstepped the line of some kind of social rule or whatever, then you should just say so. Like, if you are going to work and you are competing with men, then you need to start being able to communicate in a straightforward and direct way. It's not that hard. Let's move on. The Weinstein case has shone some light on the appalling practices in Hollywood, but it is, of course, a very depressing reflection of what women from all walks of life, from all corners of the globe, have to experience on a daily basis. Yes, and let's go back to the men too again. Since the Weinstein thing has happened, I have seen countless interviews in alternative media with men who have experienced inappropriate advances or kind of sex for cash scenarios in the Hollywood industry. So it's not just women that are treated like that in the industry, it's men too. Okay, get your facts straight, please, BBC. A few years ago, a married former colleague of mine began sending me messages containing explicit details of his sexual desires. I have become obsessed with pleasuring myself. I just can't control myself. I was horrified at first, but I thought I needed to be polite. See, this is what I don't understand. Why are women so obsessed with the need to be polite? If a guy just randomly started sending me messages saying, I've become obsessed with pleasuring myself, I just can't control myself thinking about you, and it was just completely inappropriate, it came out of nowhere, you know what he would get from me? He would get, fuck off, you disgusting perv. Go and watch some porn. Or, I am not into you. Please leave me alone. Like, when have we, why are feminists so obsessed, okay, with having to be polite and not being able to stick up for yourself? I mean, it's most certainly a class thing, because we've discussed many times that feminists are an example of middle-class elitism or upper-class elitism, because they think that the kind of passive-aggressive, regressive, repressed way of communicating in the kind of class system is how everyone should act. And they also want to be so protected and coddled that they never feel uncomfortable, or they never have to stick up for themselves in a kind of dirty, sometimes risky way. But that is the reality of the world for most people. It's like, I was talking about catcalling the other day. When I was growing up, I do remember when I got to the age of about 14, I was quite tall for my age, so I think that guys thought I was older than I were. And if a guy on a building site said, all right, darling, or, you know, smile, it'll never happen, or you look nice today, or hello, beautiful, oi, oi, sexy, or something, after a few times of sort of feeling like, oh, this is uncomfortable, I eventually started saying, fuck off, I am not interested, or I would say something witty back. Now, I understand that not everyone is outgoing like I am, but these guys, 90% of the time, just did what I said. They went, she's not interested, or they laughed back. Sometimes if they said to me, you know, oh, you look nice today, I would say, why, thank you very much. And then I would continue on my way. But, you know, these women who are promoting these kind of attitudes, they don't want to even have to engage with guys who are lower than them. This is exactly what they mean when they say they don't like catcalling, because if it was a guy who they fancied, then they would just respond saying, I fancy you too, if it was done in a way that they think is appropriate. It's all about policing your language and just trying to make everyone like them. Oh yeah, oh, you should have also said I'm 14. Yes, I did say that as well. My point being is that, yes, some of those guys should have thought first before they said something. But my point being is that I learned how to stand up for myself, and I think that that's much more, that is a much better way, it's a way of empowering yourself as a woman to be able to compete with men in the workplace and in the real world, you know? You're not always going to have a man to save you. You're not always going to have the government to save you in the background. You need to be able to stand up for yourself. Okay. Months later, so she said she kept it to herself. Months later, I was chatting to another female colleague who told me that for years she'd received dirty texts from the same man. 4 years! She received texts for years from the same... 4 years! Oh my God! She never replied saying, leave me alone, fuck off, I'm not interested. Or she didn't say, block. She didn't block his number. 4 years! Oh my God. Oh. Knowing someone else had gone through it makes it so easy to speak out. Yeah, okay, just look at the Bill Cosby case. Yeah, by the way, the Bill Cosby case, that has kind of flopped. Bill Cosby is not in jail. He has not been found guilty. Please go and research that, the BBC. I have interviewed a number of survivors of sexual assault on college campuses who didn't come forward because they didn't think they'd be believed. A lot of the time, men don't understand how to deal with it because, to put it simply, they don't have to deal with it. Now, that's just untrue. Guys, if you have had sexual advances or harassment from women without asking for it, without without it being appropriate, okay, then please use the MeToo hashtag and tell the world exactly what has happened, and prove that it doesn't just happen to women, it happens to men countless times. I have seen it a number of times in my life. Women getting drunk in the bar. They see a guy they like and they all start touching him up and they think it's okay. He's not going to do anything because he's a man and he's a gentleman. Whereas if I was him, I'd push that slag away, straight away. I would be like, get out of my face, bitch. Don't touch me. But women don't expect men to act like that. So when they feel that they can get away with it, they also get away with it. Right, let's see what else this says. 2 examples I've just shared are a few experience of the years. I forgot to mention the knock on my hotel door from a married colleague on a trip, which followed a suggestive text. In the case, I ran into the bathroom and called a friendly mate, who told me to phone him again if I felt threatened. And that's a reminder that there are many decent men who are allies in this fight. Yes, there are. Thank you very much. The most positive thing in this article so far. But you still didn't go up to the guy and say, no thanks, I'm not interested. Let's forget this ever happened. Instead, you ran to another guy to save you. How is that being strong and independent and equal? It's not, is it? My friends have shared stories of being groped while working on boats, being objectified during board meetings, passed over for a job because they didn't flirt back. See, I made that example that happened to me. It's patently clear that there's a lot more that needs to change. Okay, so, look, as I said, I'm not saying these things don't happen. I am saying that it is a symptom. It's something that happens when you are working with the opposite sex. And I've seen it on both sides. Women treating men in a certain way and men treating women in a certain way. Sometimes we just don't know how to act when we fancy someone. And that's just how it is. Would you rather that the guys never said anything to you, or would you rather that they take the risk and advance on you? I think most women want to have their egos pumped up. They want to feel desired. And so that's why the men take the risk all the time. There are also women that get into positions of power and abuse their positions of power, because when you have power and it's unregulated, then you tend to let your ego be pumped up, and then you start to abuse that position. And it has nothing to do with your gender, whether you're a man or a woman. It's everything to do with the fact that it's power, and power and egos always makes people corrupted. So that's the end of the article. Please use the not me hashtag and explain why you reject this new form of feminist propaganda. And men, please use the MeToo hashtag, and we fully support you when you are doing that. It'd be really cool if we could get, some attention about this, just because we're sick and tired of the narrative being controlled by feminists. It's old school, old news. But, the Women Against Feminism group has new members all the time. So the reason why I do this is to speak to new members. The group is focused on people who are newly anti-feminist and people that haven't been around a long time, like I have and others, lurking around, sort of being anti-feminist for years. We just want to continue reaching the women that are just realising, they've gone past uni and they've had enough of the indoctrination and they're starting to question it. That's who we want to speak to. So that is why we curate our posts, and that's why sometimes I tell off the pigtails when they start moaning too much, but generally I support the MGTOW position because they have a lot to be angry about. And that's why I'm super hard on women when they come in and start saying, well, I'm not like that, so why should I care? And it's like, no, you need to care. Okay? If you have empathy for men and boys, and you also care about how feminism hurts everyone, then you need to do something more about it than just whine with your friends. Alright. I think I'm done. And please use the hashtag, and let's speak again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.